All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Business of Speaking show. I am your host, Tim McDonald, and today joined by my special guest, Orly Amor. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you, Tim, for having me.
Oh, no, I'm so glad to have you here and can't wait to dive into your story a little bit more. But just to set the stage for anybody watching, the Business of Speaking show is not really a show that we feature speakers and what they talk about on the stage, but really about how they got started on their journey to the stage, what they've learned along the path to get being on the stage. And so if you are thinking about getting involved in a speaker, you know, you are a speaker just getting going and want to really grow your career, or as 2020 has taught us, no matter what we think we know about what's happening, things can change on an instant's notice. So it's really for anybody in the speaking industry or interested in the speaking industry, but really geared towards those either thinking about getting started or just getting started. So with that, before we dive into the beginning of your story, why don't you tell us a little bit about, what your career looks like now, what you talk about, some of the major accomplishments that you've had.
Wow, that's a loaded question, but thank you for asking it. Well, a lot of things have happened, and I know as much as not everybody has been ready for what happened with COVID this year, I got busier on the speaking circuit virtually, as well as I published a book in 2019 called Public Speakers, You're Not All That, 12 Reasons Why Event Planners Won't Hire You. I had interviewed 3,400 event planners that pay speakers for that book. So it's a major accomplishment, and it can help everyone and anyone today and tomorrow and for many years to come. And I've also spoken virtually on an event that was international. That was really cool. It was a 9.5 hour event, and it was in 115 countries and 30 million people were watching. So I feel like that's a big accomplishment. And I mean, it's been just an amazing journey, meeting a lot of speakers who are getting out there, and just really amazing stuff is happening. So I'm closer to my goal of impacting the lives of 200 million people around the planet by 2025. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, that is wonderful and amazing. So congrats on everything that you're doing, and getting closer to that goal.
That's the whole purpose.
So tell us, now that we know kind of where you're at and what you're done and where you're heading, tell us, how did this all start for you? How did you get involved in actually speaking?
Well, I was in property management for a very long time, and I was already speaking in that realm. And I never really wanted to tell my personal story. And one day my girlfriend asked me to speak at a women's shelter. And I said, well, what do you want me to speak about? There's nothing I could speak to these people about. I'm in property management. She said, well, I want you to come and tell your story. Long story short, she was after me for about 3 weeks, and finally I relented and I spoke at this women's shelter a few months later. I had hired a coach because motivational speaking was not my thing. I was following Tony Robbins and other people, but it was for my own healing and my own growth, not to speak. And it was very funny, and not funny, but haha, kind of funny. It was more the fact that I met a woman that wanted to end her life that day. And after hearing me speak, she decided to live and asked me to show her how. That's when I realized the power of sharing your own story. And just to share with you where I have been, or where my story is in 18 seconds or less. I know we're pressed for time, but I was a beaten up child. I was molested 4 times before the age of 14. I was raped 3 times before the age of 22, twice gang raped, 9 months, left for dead 9 months apart. Also, I was married to a very abusive husband. And as a result of all that, I had 4 abortions and gained a morbid amount of weight. I was 428 pounds at my heaviest. So to say the least, I did not have any worse or better story than anyone that was in that audience. And that's why I didn't feel like sharing my story was a big deal. And so then I realized how powerful is it to share our story. And in that act of sharing, there is contribution. You just never know whose life you're going to change. And then I realized my real mission in life is to impact people's lives and share it with the world. So that's where it started, if you will. I wanted to just do that for the rest of my life.
No, that is so amazing. And I believe in that so much myself about the power of story and how we share our own and how it can impact others. So it's great that you had that moment. I'm kind of curious. I'm guessing, I hate, assuming things, but I'm guessing that that speaking gig probably didn't pay you.
That speaking gig did not pay me, and but but I was always paid on the property management side. And then I got certified as a behavior analyst, and I was teaching networking in corporations, and I was also teaching in corporations how to close the deal 98% of the time through profiling. So that was those were my biggest topics. And then mindset mastery became another topic, and for those I've always been paid. So for many, many years, I have always been paid to speak until 2010. I was invited to speak in Arlington, Texas. And by the way, I have been to 26 countries, 18 states, and I've always been paid to speak. So this is a journey of where I ended up speaking in Arlington, Texas. And it was a big convention, a business convention, and these three speakers came over to me in the break room for speakers. And they just said, "Aren't you Orly Amor?" I said, "Yes." "Do I know you?" "I'm sorry, I don't remember." They said, "No, we never met before, but we've seen you on the circuit." I said, "Oh, okay, great." So we just introduced ourselves, started networking. And at one point, one of them said to me, "I'm just curious, how did you get this gig?" I said, "I don't know. I called, I told them what I speak about, they paid me, and I'm here." They all looked at me like if I had three heads. "You got paid?" And I'm like, "Oops, you guys didn't?" They said, "No, we got our expenses paid, but we didn't get paid." I said, "Oh, no, no, I got paid and I got my expenses paid." And they said, "Well, we want to know how you did that." And jokingly, I swear, Tim, I didn't even know what to say, but jokingly, I said, "Well, if I tell you, I'm going to have to charge you." But I was just kidding. And before I could say just kidding, they said, "Okay, name your price." And I'm like, "What?" um, Let me get back to you on that, because I have no idea what you're talking about. "What do you mean you didn't get paid?" I was so upset, actually, because I am more about a fairness. And I didn't know until that, you don't know what you don't know until that moment. I did not know that speakers did not get paid. That was my, what? What do you mean? It was like a aha moment, right? And when I went home from that event, I realized there's a problem in this industry. And I sat down and I wrote what is called today the Business in a Box for public speakers, because I did not know that people did not get paid.
Wow. Well, as somebody who started my speaking career almost 11 years ago, I have done my fair share of not getting paid speaking, especially in the early
I
days.
hear you. And there's so many like that. And some of them are told not to get paid in the beginning of their career. I don't believe that. I'm sorry to say it that way, but I don't believe that. It's a myth. There's a few myths out there. I just don't, I believe that if you have a message, somebody is willing to pay for it. A few statistics: it's $100 billion a year industry. Why wouldn't you get paid? 64,000 events a day in America alone. Canada and the United States pay speakers every single day. And they did not vanish because of COVID-19. So where did they go, right? Everybody's probably asking that question.
Well, let's get back to that. But I'm kind of curious because I just want to make sure I understand the timeline here. You were in property management and you did give some talks then.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and so, but
They were
those
paid.
were, they were paid, but were you getting paid as the property manager in your salary or getting paid with from the events that you were speaking at too?
No, I was paid from the events that I was speaking at. So I had a company for property management, but I had employees, and so that was taken care of. Then I was being called by different associations all over the country. That's how I did the 18 states, because people knew who I was, and I changed the law in the state of Florida. I mean, I did many amazing things in the property management field, that I was being called to speak in different places. And I wrote a couple of books on the subject matter. And yeah, so no, I was being paid very handsomely. Thank you.
Well, that's good. That's great. So I'm just kind of curious when, how did you get that first? opportunity to speak, back in those days? I mean, what was it like? And I mean, did you search it out and knowing that's what you wanted to do, or did somebody just come to you and say, "Hey, we'd really like you to come speak, Orly"?
So that's a great question, Tim, because many people used to ask me to follow me for one day. And I would tell them that that would be the most boring day of their life in the old days, because in the old days, we had to pick up the phone and cold call. So I used to sit at my desk almost 12 to 16 hours a day, making phone calls, cold calling, and emailing. I mean, it was all very old stuff, I mean, really old computers. We used to use uh, Lotus 123 in the days that I started speaking. Do you know how old I am? 53. So you can tell.
Well, I remember that too, so I think we're in the same
Yeah,
range.
boss. So, in those days, it was a lot harder to find gigs, but there were also fewer speakers. Things have changed. But yes, I had to do it myself manually and find out everything by myself. In the beginning, it was very, very challenging because I had to learn everything on my own. Nobody would teach you, nobody would share their information. And, just like they used to call corporate world, sharks, the shark, being sharks in corporate. Well, it was the same in every industry. Nobody would share their information. Nobody would help you in anything. You want to make it in this business? Good. Go find out how to do it by yourself. Nobody's going to help you. It's not like today when we have coaches and mentors and people you can actually help you learn cut the learning curve in half or in 2/3 or etc.
So how did, before you started making those calls for 12, 16 hours a day, I mean, how did you know this was what you wanted to do?
Um, I fell in love with public speaking. I think in the beginning it was more of an ego thing. I just enjoyed the rush of being on a stage and enjoying people coming afterwards and telling me how important it was that they came and how much they got out of it or how good I did. It was fun to hear that. It was boosting my morale because in property management especially, I used to get off the stage and like, oh, Miss Amor, we have problems in our associations or in our board of directors. There's always one person that doesn't want to vote and doesn't want to do and blah blah blah. It was always problems, problems, problems. And then I go to this women's shelter and everybody's hugging me and thanking me for coming. It was such a culture shock that I was like, no, I think I like the hugs better. I think I like the people hugging me and thanking me for coming and sharing. I think I want to do that more. It was just that really that I knew that I wanted to be in front of a crowd. I like to sing. So it was like, oh, okay, public speaking just gives you the same high. I think I'm going to enjoy this too.
No, that's wonderful. And I'm just kind of curious. I mean, you make it sound like it was obviously a lot of work, but you make it sound like it was just so natural and easy for you to kind of get these gigs, obviously by making all these calls. Can you give us an idea of about, what was the process like from when you first started making those calls to actually getting, speaking gigs and, really feeling the the results of what you were looking to achieve?
I would tell you that the first 3 months, I just wanted to shoot myself because at the end of the 3 months, I did not get anything. I was really just making a lot of calls and a lot of people would not get back to you. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, how long have you been speaking? And I would have to say a year, it was very hard in the beginning. I didn't know what to say and I didn't know how to talk and I didn't know how to deal with rebuttals. So it was everything learn as you go. Okay, so next time let me try this thing or let me try this script and let me try. So it's like you're a friend of mine really likes, his name is Benji. He likes to talk about the boxer in the ring, like if he ever started just boxing, he would learn after having a black eye how to move his head so he doesn't get another black eye, right? Basically, right? You learn as you go, but learning the hard way, this is what happened to me. I learned how to tweak my script, how to deal with rebuttals, how to answer positively, how to build those relationships. and how to never close the door, never hang up saying, "Oh, okay, thank you, bye bye." No, it wasn't never thank you. When is your next event? How can I get on your list? How can I continue this conversation? And I had to basically just ask the questions and being vulnerable with these event planners so that I can learn from them instead of being the beggar for a gig. And that is how I learned and how I tweaked. So the first 3 months of 12 to 16 hours a day were many, many calls where I did not even know what I was doing. But after a while, I got some gigs, and I did get some gigs during those 3 months, but they were for later. So now what? And then I didn't ask for the deposit, and I didn't ask for certain things. And then they would ask me for something and I didn't have it. And when I sent it, it wasn't in the right format. And oh my goodness, then I was, oh, well, what do I do now? Like, where do I get that? And so it took a while. And so when people now ask me to show them or do it for them, it's like, okay, do you understand how much work goes into this? Right? I mean, yeah, sure, I learned it overnight. It didn't take long at all. No, it was a lot of work. And so this business is really a business. And that's what people need to understand, really. It does take a while, and you got to have patience, though, because I'm sorry I'm going to say it this way, but you don't sleep with every person you meet. You know, you don't go on a first date and say, okay, well, unless it's your thing. But at the end of the day, you got to build that relationship, the know, like, trust, and get to know people a little better on a deeper level before you get into this relationship that it's, or friendship even, right? You don't call everybody your friend because they're not. You don't know anything about them. So it's the same principle.
Well, I so appreciate you opening up and sharing that, because I am not a believer in an easy button that everybody has this overnight success. And
Agreed.
I want people to understand that there's work that goes into this. I'm kind of curious about your mindset though, because 3 months of 12 to 16 hours a day of making calls, how did you go through each day and get up the next day and say, this is what I'm going to do again and again and again?
Buckling down is not easy, not even for me. I'm ADHD. Like, I need to get up and do, and I lived in a beautiful house that has a pool, and the fridge was not far. It was the hardest thing to do. I lived in Florida, so you can only imagine how much I wanted to go outside, sit by the pool. And I say this with love because you understand now how even harder it was. You see, I live in Brooklyn now, so it's easier to say, oh yeah, sure, I don't want to go outside. But I lived in a very beautiful place. And I will tell you that you have to have a focused mission. And my focused mission was to impact people's lives. If it wasn't for my mission, then I don't think I would have made it. I'm like, do I really want to do this? How badly do you want this, Orly? Every morning, how badly do you want to get on stages, Orly? How badly do you want this, Orly? I had to talk to myself every day in the mirror. So do you want to do this? You sure you want to do this? Are you sure? How sure are you today? Are you sure? Is it 90%? Is it 80%? You better get to 100 really quickly, or else you're not going to sit in that chair. And I used to really talk to this is how I used to mindset talk to myself. Yeah, like people talk to me and say, you talk to yourself? Yeah, I talk to myself. I like to talk to someone intelligent for a change. No, I'm just kidding. But, like, of course, I'm going to tell myself that you better buckle down. You can't be any better a coach than yourself, because you can have 100 coaches right now, and you should have coaches. But at the end of the day, you're the only one that's going to push yourself out of bed and get ready for the day. Oh, and by the way, I never worked in my pajamas. I got up, I took a shower, I got dressed, my hair was done, makeup on, beautiful clothes on, and I sat at the chair like if I was going to an office. And I didn't, like, every day was like, okay, is there a camera following me? I do that for other projects, that even today, if I have a project, I'll get up and do exactly that and feel like there's a camera following me. What if I was on TV for 24 hours? What would they say? What would they see? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing for my goals? And that's how I treated myself every single day. It was hard. I'm not going to tell you it was easy. That's for sure. It was not. It was a battle every day. It's like going on a diet. OMG. I mean, I lost 230 pounds. I can tell you, it was like doing that. It was like, oh Lord, every day. It's a struggle. It's a commitment. It's a big commitment to yourself. It's even worse because it's a commitment to yourself. You can actually cheat anytime you like. You can do whatever, whenever. Nobody's, there's not a clock on you. There's no boss. I didn't have a boss. I didn't need to do it. If I didn't want to, I could have just not done it. I had the money to sustain myself. I mean, basically, if I wanted to do, just go back to property management. But I said, no, 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 don't want to go to property management ever again. No, 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 I don't want to work. That was work. Imagine that. That was work instead of sitting at a computer for 12 to 16 hours and making phone calls. That was not work. Oh boy, I had to really convince myself this is it. That's the passion.
Well, I know you mentioned that a lot of this, especially when you first started, was you having to learn on your own because there wasn't additional resources out there. Along your path, have you found other resources or other ways that you can learn from others and, take ideas and continually kind of evolve and improve your business?
At the time that I was already successful, and by successful is multiple six figures in this business, I had people coming to me. So the resources were just, if you will, I already cut the learning curve. So I already reduced my 12 to 16 hours to about 2 hours a day. So at that point, I didn't feel like I needed other resources. What I really say to people is now there's resources, there's everywhere resources, but what is not available until today is your commitment to this business. It is a business. And thinking of it as a business, Tim, is I like to give the analogy of a store. Like you and I are best friends, right? And we have an amazing friend who's a real estate agent, and she found us the best location for our brick and mortar store. So we're going to need the key to the front door. We're going to need the hours of operation on the door. We're going to need the name of the store on top of the door. When we go inside, we might need an alarm system or a camera system, a cash register, one of those computers, iPads for processing credit cards. We're going to need insurance and maybe a liability insurance, a bank account, and we're going to hire a bookkeeper because you and I don't like to do that job. Okay. But did I tell you what we're selling? No. That's the business of public speaking because the product is you. So if you don't have the commitment to your own store, are you going to open every day? Are you going to open it for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? What's your operating hours really? So that's the business side. If you don't understand that, you will never make it in this business because that commitment is daily, not, oh, I don't know, I feel like doing it today, maybe tomorrow. Oh, maybe they'll call me. Yeah, no, not today. People won't call you. You know what I mean? It's no, it has shifted so much 10 years before COVID and now completely. So 180.
Well, I know we're kind of wrapping up on our time here, but one question I love asking is, and I'm really interested in what you would have to say on this, is knowing what you know now, if you could go back to yourself when you first started, what's one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Never give up. Never give up. No matter what. Stay the course. Stay in your lane. Stay the course. Because there's a lot of naysayers and a lot of people that say, what are you doing? Are you crazy? So many people say to me, come out with us. You never come out with us. You never come for a drink. You never come to, you're not even coming to my birthday, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I got to work. I got to work. I got to work. Whether I had a boss, no boss, whatever. I had to stay the course or else, because those people will not live my dreams, give me my dreams, so just stay the course and stay focused, never give up.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Early. And please let our watchers know how they can get in touch with you, where they can find you.
All right. Basically, orlyamor.com. Very simple. That's my website, orlyamor.com. And they can also email me at orlyamor.com. And my phone number is right there. So 917-515-6803. And they can text, call anytime.
I Love that you give your phone number out too. I'm a big believer in that myself. So, well, and if you're watching, I just want to let you know that even though we're going to end the YouTube broadcast, Orly has agreed to stay on with me and record one additional question. And that question won't ever be found on YouTube, but it will be found if you sign up for our newsletter. If you go to speaking.business and just sign up for our weekly newsletter, this is exclusive content that only goes out to our email subscribers. So we hope to see you there. Thank you for watching, and thank you for joining us, Arlie.
Oh, thank you for having me, Tim.